Is your 4-out offense feeling cramped? Like everyone's either standing around or stepping on each other's toes instead of creating scoring opportunities? Well, in this video, I'm going to show you how to unlock the true offensive power of the 4-out by mastering spacing. Stop settling for mediocre possessions and start creating wide open looks with this offense. Before I get into it, let me go over what I'm going to cover in this video. Skip ahead to this timestamp if you want to get straight to the action. First, I'm going to tell you some strengths and weaknesses of the 4-out offense so you can decide if this offense is for your team. Next, I'm going to share my 4 rules to running this offense and teach you some basic movements for this offense. I'm also going to give you 2 set plays that you can run from this offensive set, so be sure to stick around for those at the end. Some strengths of the 4-out offense. It might be the very first offensive strategy you learn as a player because it's easy to teach and to learn. For you coaches, it's great for beginner teams as well as more experienced ones, meaning you could start your younger teams off with this offense and it would still be a viable option for them as they got older or more experienced. The 4-out is great at teaching fundamentals because it emphasizes movement, cutting, and passing based on making reads and smart decisions. There are some weaknesses to this offense. Most obvious is that you can't or you shouldn't run it against the zone, in my opinion. You'll need to have a second offense to run against the zone. If you don't have skilled shooters or post players, teams will sag and cheat a lot and make movements of this offense ineffective. It's also tough to run against a team who plays great help man-to-man defense. If you don't know what that is, I'll touch on it very briefly here. When you're set up in the 4-out offense, most teams are taught to run their man-to-man or matchup defense like this, 1 or 2 steps away from their man and between them and the basket. A variation of this might be a more aggressive or denial defensive posture where the defenders stay close to their opponents. The 4-out offense will work against either of these defenses, but you may struggle against a good help-to-man defense. Here's why. In help man-to-man defense, defenders who are 2 passes away from the ball stay on the center line, ready to help and defend against drives to the middle. With the ball here in the slot, our 4 and 2 players are 1 pass away from the ball. Our 3 and 5 players would be 2 passes away from the ball, so their defenders would move to the midline in a help man-to-man defense. If the ball moves to the corner, now 2, 3, and 5 are 2 passes away, and the help defense would look like this as they move to the midline. It's a completely different look for the offense, but you're unlikely to encounter this at lower levels. Alright, here are my 4-out offensive rules. Rule number 1. Always keep great spacing on the court. Don't allow one defender to guard 2. Rule number 2. Always pass and move. Never make a pass and stand around, cut to the basket, or set an off-ball screen. Rule number 3. If you receive a pass outside the 3-point line, be ready to pass, shoot, or drive. Be in a triple threat stance. And rule number 4. Make hard cuts looking to receive the pass. No lazy walking or jogging cuts. Alright. Now let's get into the 4-out offense. The 4-out offense gets its name by having 4 players outside of the 3-point line and 1 player inside. I'll be referring to the slot, wing, and corners quite often in this video, so if you're unfamiliar with those terms, here are the slots, here are the wings, and here are the corners. In this offense, we position 4 players outside of the 3-point line and 1 player on the block opposite side of the ball. Our 5 player must move in relation to where the ball is on the court. When we keep our 5 player or post player on the opposite side of the ball, it helps to keep this area of the lane open for dribble penetration from the slot or backdoor cuts from the corner and opposite slot. It also helps to maintain the first and most important rule for this offense, which is to always keep great spacing on the court. With this setup, you can see the great spacing we have here. I don't like to tell my players an exact distance like 15 or 18 feet apart. What I like to say is be far enough away from your teammate so that one defender can't guard both of you at once. For really young teams, you may want to have them come close enough where they can make this chest or bounce pass easily. It's not ideal spacing, but in my opinion, if they're too young to make a 15-foot pass, the focus should be on enjoying the game and not so much about learning plays. Now for the first part of the 4-out, 1-in offense called pass, cut, fill. First, we'll go over the slot to wing pass. Once this pass is made, our 1 player is going to cut all the way towards the basket. looking for the pass. If this pass is open, we want to hit this player cutting to the basket. That brings up rule number 2, always pass and move, always cut after a pass. If the slot to wing pass is made and the initial cut to the basket isn't open, player 1 must continue the cut all the way to the basket. Player 2 will fill where player 1 was, player 3 moves to fill player 2's spot, and player 1 fills the wing where player 3 was. It's important to know that we always cut ball side in front of the defender and not behind them. We'll go over backdoor cuts later on in this video. Here's a look at the slot to wing pass, cut, and fill rotations. Our first look is the pass to the cutting teammate, but we're also looking to drive or shoot from this position. That brings up rule number 3, always catch the ball in a triple threat position. That means you're a threat to pass, shoot, or drive. Players looking to make only one of those movements are easy to defend. If our wing player can beat their defender off the dribble and get to the basket, make sure they wait until the lane to the basket is clear. Another option off the drive is to kick out to the perimeter for an open shot or reset of the offense. Know that these positions on the floor aren't fixed, especially on the drive and kick options. Players on the opposite side of the court can and should move to an open spot to receive a pass. If the drive and kick starts from the wing player will circle out and fill their original position. Here's a look at the slot to wing pass from the opposite side. First, look to hit the cutter on the give and go pass for a layup. Again, if player 5's defender steps into the lane to stop the drive, we have an easy drop-off pass for a layup. Our 5 player has to be aware of where the ball and their defender is at all times. And because we're always in a triple threat position, if the first pass isn't there, we can look to shoot or drive hard to the basket once the lane is clear. And of course, we're always ready for this pass in the paint if player 5's defender leaves them to help. The next pass we're going to go over is the wing to slot pass. With the ball in the wing, our 5 player should be on the opposite side of the ball, keeping this area of the court open. When the wing to slot pass is made, the wing player is going to cut towards the basket, looking for the pass. We want to cut ball side in front of our defender and not behind them. After the wing to slot pass, our first look is right back to the wing cutter to the basket. If that pass is open, we want to hit the cutter for the layup. That brings up rule number 4, always cut hard and expect the ball when cutting. No lazy walking or jogging cuts. Cut like you want the ball and expect the ball every time. Again, if player 5's defender steps into the lane to stop the drive, we have an easy pass for a layup. Another option off the entry pass is to kick out to the perimeter for an open shot or reset of the offense. And just a reminder, players on the perimeter shouldn't stand and watch. Remain engaged in the action and move to an open spot to receive a pass. If we do kick the ball out to the perimeter, our cutter will circle back out to reset the offense and we're back in our 4-out, 1-in setup. If the give and go pass isn't open, we don't want our wing player to cut all the way to the opposite side of the court. That would force our wing to the slot to the other slot, and make our 2 player have to dribble into the corner, which isn't a great idea. Instead, if our wing player doesn't receive the pass, they just circle back out to the original position and our 2 player can drive to the basket. Or step into a 3-point shot if it's open. Now let's go over the slot to slot pass. When the pass is made, our 5 moves to the opposite side, trying to bring their defender with them to open up this driving lane. Again, it's a pass and hard cut to the basket, ball side, in front of the defender and not behind. If that first pass to the cutter is open, we want to hit that option every time. If their bottom defender steps up to stop the drive, player 5 is always ready for this pass and layup. If that first pass to the cutter isn't open, we don't want to fill to the opposite side. Player 1 will circle out, fill the wing, and player 4 will move to fill the slot. Once again, if that first pass isn't there, the 2 player can look to drive to the basket once the lane is clear. And if player 5's defender steps into the driving lane, player 5 is always ready for this pass and layup. Another option is for player 2 to step in and take the shot if it's open. Now let's go over some backdoor options. Alright, so when should you make a backdoor cut? First, you must be one pass away from the ball. If the ball is here on the wing, only player 1 is one pass away. If the ball is here in the slot, players 2 and 4 are one pass away. If a slot-to-slot pass is made, players 1 and 3 are one pass away. And if the ball moves to the other wing, only player 2 is one pass away. The next criteria to make a backdoor cut is if your defender is playing tight or denial defense. Here, player 2 is one pass away from the ball, and their defender is playing tight, aggressive defense on them. Unlike our regular pass, cut, and fill, where we cut ball side to the basket, every backdoor cut should be made behind the defender. It's good to teach your players to keep an eye on their defender's eyes. If they turn to look at the ball, as most defenders will, that's the very best time to cut backdoor. The entry pass to the backdoor cutter should be a leading bounce pass that the cutter can catch in stride to the basket. And of course, if player 5's defender steps into the lane to help, it's an easy drop-off pass to player 5 for the layup. If the backdoor pass isn't there, we don't want the cutter to circle out towards the ball and force the wing to dribble away. Instead, our cutter completes the cut all the way to the basket and to the opposite wing, and players 4 and 1 move to fill. So 2 makes the backdoor cut, it's not open, and players 4 and 1 move to fill. When the ball is in the slot, now players 3 and 1 are one pass away, and either one can cut backdoor if their defender is playing up close. In order to avoid players 3 and 1 cutting backdoor at the same time, it's good to teach your players to read each other's eyes. If player 2 is looking over at our wing in this scenario, it's probably best if the wing cuts backdoor and not player 1. It's not always an exact science, but building chemistry with your players is always best, so you can just anticipate each other on the court. Let's go over the backdoor cut from the wing when the ball is in the slot. Remember, we don't want to cut ball side on the backdoor cut. We want to cut behind the defender who is playing too close and catch them off guard. Again, the entry pass to the backdoor cutter should be a leading bounce pass that the cutter can catch in stride to the basket. And if player 5's defender moves over to help, you got it, it's an easy drop-off pass for the layup. And if the backdoor pass isn't open, the wing cutter finishes the cut to the basket and circles back to fill their original position, and we're right back into our 4-out offense. Alright, let's talk about the post player. Till now, it looks like our post player only moves opposite the ball and is ready for a dump-off pass, but it's much more than that. So let's go over what the post player can do in this offense. Yes, our post player has to stay on the opposite side of the ball and move when the ball switches sides, and remain ready for this pass and layup on all drives when their defender leaves to help. But if the drive comes from the corner, our post player needs to be aware and flash to this open spot. Our post player needs to be able to read the situation. If they don't move to get open, the pass is essentially taken away. If they move before their defender reacts to the drive, they'll bring the defense with them and take away our drive to the basket. Also, if the defender guarding the post is playing too far under the basket or isn't paying attention, our post player can flash to the ball side and seal their defender on their back. Getting the ball into the post is always an option in this offense. It's especially great if your post player can get to the basket or shoot and draw a foul on your opponents. The other options from the post are to kick it back out to the perimeter or make a backdoor pass to a cutter to the basket. The post player can also flash to the high post in this offense. I say flash because you don't want them to hang out in the high post. If they don't receive the ball immediately, within 1 or 2 seconds, they should return back to the low block. If they do receive a pass in the high post, they have the option to attack the basket, kick it out to the perimeter, or hit a cutter going to the basket. You can run a lot of different scoring options from the high post, like give and goes, handoffs, fake handoffs, and more. Let me know in the comments if you'd like to see some of those scoring options. Now let's get to set play number 1. For this play, we want our 2 wings to be down in the corners and our 5 player to be at the nail. Player 1 is going to meet player 2 at the top of the key for a dribble handoff and screen. Once the dribble handoff is made, player 1 will set a screen on player 2's defender, and player 5 will set a second staggered screen for player 2. Once player 2 comes off that double staggered screen, player 2 can drive to the basket if it's open, or look to player 5 rolling off that screen. While that pick and roll action is happening, player 1 moves to the open slot, and we have 3-point options for a shot if help comes from any of those players on the perimeter. Here's a look where we get all the way to the basket off the double staggered screen. Here we hit our 5-player rolling to the basket. And here we kick it out for the open shot. It's a simple play that you can add to your 4-out offense, but just remember, the 4-out is more of a read and react offense, so I like to keep plays like this to a minimum so players can better learn how to play the game. Here's a look at the play with defenders put in. If player 5's defender doesn't pick up the ball, we have a drive straight to the basket. What you're more likely to see is player 5's defender move to stop the drive and an open player 5 rolling to the basket. Alright, set play number 2. It's another pick and roll look, this time from the wing. For this play, we want our 5-player to start at the ball side low block. Our wing player will set an on-ball screen for our 1-player who moves from the slot to the wing. We don't want our 1-player to attack right off the screen. We want them to survey the court from the wing. As that's happening, player 5 will come up to set a back screen on 4's defender. Once the back screen is set by player 5, player 1 will attack the basket as player 4 cuts towards the front of the rim. Player 1 may just beat their defender to the basket, and if they do, that's great. What you're most likely to get is a lob pass to player 4 at the front of the rim. And of course, if that pass to player 4 is covered, we can kick it out to our shooters on the wing and in the corner. There are a lot of on-ball screen possibilities with the 4-out offense. Start with learning the basics, then add a few set plays until your players can see and create opportunities for themselves in real time. Here's the play with defenders added in. I know it looks a bit congested around the rim. The lob pass is going to be your best bet in executing this play, so stay away from this one if you're a younger team or don't have the ability to do that. Hey everyone, thank you so much for watching my video. If you like this, leave a like. If you like the content, please subscribe and hit the bell notification because it helps out the channel a ton. Learn and practice the basics of this offense and some of these plays. They're awesome. I know they work. Let me know what you think. If done right, they're really effective and a lot of fun. There's a lot more plays you can check out on my channel. Please review this play again, share it with your team, and I'll see you right away in the next video.